This is where things get weird. And if we compare Dexterity to the baseline fall damage directly, you can see that it's not that
it's not even that big
we
of a...
essentially get an extra 1.5 meters before fall damage starts.
It's so dumb.
We only get about
it should be
3
buffed
more
in my
meters
opinion
before fall damage is fatal. So this is definitely...
What do you guys think about that? You guys think that Dexterity should... I don't know if it needs to be as good as Mountaineer was, but I definitely think it should be buffed. Like, bro, this much of an increase, like 3 meters of an increase, like what?
Huge nerf compared to the last Warzone.
Okay,
moving on to Survivor.
Survivor.
Now, this is one of those perks that really surprised me. Now, there's a few benefits for Survivor, and the first main one is that you start regenerating health more quickly. And to test this out, I found a building where when I dropped off of it, I'd be one shot or absolute, and I did that both with and without the perk, and then I recorded how long it took for my health to regenerate. Without the perk, my health started regenerating around 6 seconds, and it took almost 9 seconds to get to full health.
Holy shit.
And then with the perk, regeneration started around 3 seconds, and
wow,
then
half the time. Wow, very close to half the time.
My health bar regenerated fully before it even started when not using Survivor or any other perks that affect your health.
Oh wow, oh wow. Wait, that's actually really good.
Survivor did reduce the time it took for me to get revived. Normally it takes around 5 seconds to do this, and with Survivor it takes around 3.5 seconds. So this is a pretty big benefit. Overall, I put this perk in the A category.
I agree. That's an A tier perk for sure.
It's really slow, and this does speed it up significantly. And I also think it's a great perk to have when you're playing with a team because you do get revived quite a bit faster. And you'll also see here in a second that some of the perks in the other categories that are supposed to help with health regeneration aren't nearly as effective as this one. Okay,
yeah, I know what he's talking about. He's talking about Quick Fix. I'm pretty sure Quick Fix is broken too. Dude, so many perks are broken in this game right now, chat. That's why it's good. Yo, shout out this guy real quick. Shout out Dream Strike. Go sub to this guy. It's a great video. It's a great breakdown. Because the game has so many perks that just really aren't working as intended. And some perks that just aren't doing as much as we thought. Like, dude, this is actually huge. I'm probably going to switch Dexterity out for Survivor, or, you know, let's just keep watching the video and see which other perks he gives us some data on.
Now this is another perk that has a few different benefits, and the first one is that explosive damage slows enemy health regeneration. So to test this, I threw a Semtex at the feet of an enemy, and I recorded the time that it took for the health to regenerate. If you remember, normal health regeneration starts around 6 seconds, but with Grenadier, it went all the way up to 10 seconds.
Oh my
which
god,
is pretty insane.
That actually
Grenadier is also supposed to slow down enemy movement.
But you have to hit him with an aid,
though. I did test this by throwing a Semtex at an enemy's feet once again, and I didn't really see a whole
much
lot
of a slowdown, yeah.
Speed. But there might be a little bit. It's just not that noticeable.
Yeah.
You do also get to see the trajectory of your equipment when you throw it.
I hate that.
And at least according to the patch notes, you do get an increased throwing distance of 15%.
You
but
do,
I wasn't really able to test this.
Yeah, and on top of that, like, notice how quick the grenade cooks. I'm not really a big fan of that. I don't know. It cooks so quick. It's actually, it could be broken, I guess, a little bit if you use it right.
Overall, I'd give this perk.
I like being able to like, you can't vert nade with this perk. Like, you can't vert nade, and like if somebody's up on the roof, you can't just like vert nade and like get a free knock with that perk, because when you throw it up in the sky and it blows up in the sky because you throw it so far and you cook it so quick.
And now's a good time to talk about 2 perks that we haven't been able to unlock yet in the perk 1 category.
What?
The first is Veteran, which I just mentioned, and this reduces the negative effects of some enemy equipment. And I think that this is going to be really important in this game because this perk makes you more resistant to a lot of the tacticals in this game, like for instance flashes and stuns. And I think that a lot of people are going to be running these more offensive.
Yeah, now that smokes are not as good.
Smokes and stims were the predominant tacticals that people used in Warzone 3, but they've got heavily nerfed in this game, and I just don't think they're going to be as
Stims did just get buffed. They just got rebuffed, but not back to its former glory when this game first dropped. But it did get enough of a buff that, in my opinion, I think stims are still your go-to tactical. I think it's better than everything else. Now, prior to this past buff that he's talking, like this nerf that he's talking about, I agree. Like flashes, stuns, stuff like that might actually start to be pretty viable. I mean, it's still viable even now, but now that the stim just got a little bit of a buff, again, it got a increase in the time. So they nerfed it down from 5 seconds of movement speed down to 1 second. So they fucking nerfed it into the ground, but then they just buffed it back up to 3 seconds. So
popular. So I'm giving this an A tier rating because I think this perk is going to be really useful, but it does depend on what people are running in their loadouts. Now the next perk that's still locked is Reflexes, and this perk gives a delay to triggered explosives when you're sprinting past them. And I think this is going to be another perk that's really good because one thing I haven't seen a lot of people talk about is they increase the maximum deployed equipment from 2 to 3. So what this means is that people who are using trap-based explosives like the new blast trap or the spring mine, they're going to be able to put 3 of these down instead of 2, which means that more entrances to buildings are going to be booby trapped. So it's going to be a lot more difficult to push teams that are camping buildings.
True.
Now I would give this an S tier rating, but because these types of traps aren't usually allowed in ranked, I knocked this down to A. So it's probably going to depend on what mode you're playing for whether or not you...
Oh, that's Flex. That's the Flex perk. Look, it has the audio stuff too. It has the same triggered explosive delay, but it doesn't have the increased audio. That's kind of weird. Flex. Yeah, Flex. That's weird. So it doesn't do what Flex does, even though it has a headset audio. I wonder if that's broken. I wonder if that's not intended. But they have the description as that. So I don't know. Maybe that's intentional.
Too. Now this category has several perks that are completely broken
and unusable.
Probably stay away from until they're
like
fixed.
Quick Fix.
Now up first is Quick Fix.
Yep.
Now this perk is supposed to immediately start your health regeneration when you kill enemies or insert armor plates.
And it doesn't.
But when I tested this, it definitely wasn't working. I had an enemy shoot me, and then I recorded the time it took for my health regeneration to start once I pressed my button to insert armor plates, and I really didn't see any difference between having the perk and not having the perk.
There's no difference. There is no difference.
I also tested it out with the throwing knife kill, and once again, I didn't really see any difference in the time.
And he didn't get, look, no increase in health. Quick Fix just doesn't work right now.
Now, one thing that did work with this perk is that you are able to insert armor plates one-handed, and this can come in handy because you're able to hip fire while using armor plates. And just with testing it around and a little bit of plunder, I did find this useful for when enemies were pushing me. I think this could be an S tier perk.
It will be S tier.
Because this perk is basically not working, bugged. I would recommend staying away from it.
Stay away from it. Chat, fully stay away from this perk, but once it does get buffed, this will be the #1 tier 3 slot to use, or tier 2. 100%, no questions asked, guaranteed. This is going to be the best one because you can plate one-handed, which means you can still hip fire while you're plating, and some of these SMGs in this game have insanely good hip fire accuracy. 2, when you insert the plate, you instantly start healing. When you knock somebody or kill somebody, you instantly start healing, and right now it's not working. The only thing that's working, I think, with this perk is when you full kill a down player, and that's it, bro. So only down players. So if you kill somebody that doesn't even have teammates and doesn't go down, I don't think you start the health regeneration. It's so weird. This Quick Fix is completely bugged. Definitely stay away from it. But when it does get fixed, S tier perk, no question, bro. Because that fast health regeneration, chat, you have to realize the amount of times that you die as a player because your health takes a million years to heal up. Yes, you can put your plates on as fast as you want, but without your health being, like your base health being super low, you can't take any fall damage. You can't take many fights, bro. There's nothing you can do.
For now. Now the next perk up is Cold-Blooded, and once again I found another pretty big issue with this perk. Now it's supposed to make you immune to Tracker and to Alertness, but what I found was that it does work against Alertness, but it does not work currently against Tracker. This enemy right here is running Cold-Blooded, and I'm still able to see their footsteps with Tracker, which tells me it doesn't work. I do think that this is a bug though, and they probably will get it fixed, but it's something to keep in mind for now. I also did test out that it does appear to be working against the AI turrets, so that's good, and it does not work against snapshots or portable radars, which is pretty much what I expected. Now, because of this bug against Alertness, I would recommend not using it right now, but once they do get that fixed, I would say that this is an A tier perk because it does counter Alertness, which I think is going to be one of the most broken perks in the game. Okay, Alertness. Up next is Bomb Squad, and this really does 2 things for you. The first is that it reduces incoming explosive and fire damage. I did test that it prevents you from dying if you do get stuck with a Semtex.
Oh, nice.
But when I took Semtex damage right at my feet, I didn't really see a major difference in the explosive damage.
Wow.
Up next is Tracker.
Tracker's really good.
This perk really does 3 things. The first is that it allows you to see enemy footsteps, and these footsteps fade over time, but they do last for a pretty long time, up to about 9.5 seconds.
Wow. You know, Tracker is really good.
The second thing that it does is when your bullets hit someone, they briefly mark that target for you and your squad.
Yeah, the combat scout.
About 2.5 seconds of live ping, but then I also tested it at 100 meters, and at this distance, I got about 5 seconds of live ping.
Yeah.
And to compare this, when you just ping someone regularly, you only get about 2 seconds at 100 meters. And then lastly, you're supposed to get an automatic ping when enemies down you, but from my testing, this is not a live ping. It just pings the last location of the enemy, so it's not nearly as useful. Overall, I'd give this
it kind of is still nice
because the automatic ping feature really isn't that much more beneficial than just live pinging someone manually with your...
I'm gonna be fully honest with you. I think Tracker's well, I'm going to see what he has to say about some of these other perks, but I think Tracker right now with Quick Fix being bugged, once Quick Fix is fixed, it's going to be the best tier 2 perk, but I think Tracker's the best perk right now, other than maybe Quartermaster maybe? Recharges your tacticals, but again, you don't need that when you have munitions boxes and shit like that. I think it's the best perk right now. Tracker, it's Combat Scout and Tracker in one perk. I think it's just good, because when you got to realize when you're shooting people, like, and you like, yeah, you can live ping them yourself, but if it just live pings for you, it just makes it smoother if you're trying to shoot people through smokes or through walls or anything like that, like wall banging and shit.
Controller or with your keyboard. And then additionally, once Cold-Blooded is fixed, it's going to completely counter Tracker and make this perk useless against a lot of players. Up next which then it will be worse, but for now it's fucking good because Cold-Blooded is broken, and then when they fix those 2 perks, it'll be Sprinter.
Quick Fix will be the best.
Have some mixed emotions on this
Sprinter's
perk.
useless. You don't need it. You don't need it.
Tactically sprint indefinitely, and it sounds great on paper because it brings us back to the old Warzone where you could just sprint and slide cancel endlessly around the map. And while that's kind of true now, there does appear to be some sort of fatigue that your character gets when you slide cancel too frequently. So when you try to chain slides together, you do lose some momentum over time. So even when you equip Sprinter, it's not the exact same as it used to be back in Warzone 1. Now, one thing I did want to test was using the melee knife compared to using Sprinter, because with the melee knife, you also do get infinite tack sprint.
And you just get rid of it.
The big downside to using the melee knife is if you do get caught by surprise, it does take time to swap to a weapon to be able to engage in a gunfight. And I found that the sprint to fire time was about 200 milliseconds slower when you had your melee knife out. But when I compared this to the slide to fire time, it was only about 100 milliseconds slower. Now, this might not seem like a big deal, but because the time to kill in Warzone is pretty fast, and for some guns is like around 600 milliseconds, this is very significant. So overall, I'm giving this an A rating because it does make the game feel a lot more fluid when you're playing, but because you can use the melee knife to still have infinite tack sprint, it doesn't get up to that S tier rating.
I really don't think I think it's a waste of a perk. I don't think any of you should use Sprinter. I really just think get used to start using your knife and use Tracker because it's just more useful, and then eventually when they fix Quick Fix, use Quick Fix.
Rounding out the perk 2 slot, we have Quartermaster, and this perk recharges your equipment over time.
It's pretty okay.
Testing, this recharge rate is about every 50 seconds. But like I mentioned earlier, loot is pretty easy to find in Warzone, and there's so many munitions boxes and ways that you can replenish your equipment that I really don't think that this perk is necessary. So I'm giving it a D rating.
I agree.
Okay, moving on to the perk 3 slot, and up first we have Alertness, and this perk has 2 main benefits, and the first one is that you get a notification when you're near an enemy player. Now I tested this, and the cutoff appears to be around 30 meters, so this radius is pretty big. And this perk is pretty powerful because a big element in Battle Royale is knowing where people are. Surprise, and this perk kind of eliminates that for a lot of players.
That's pretty fun.
And additionally, you also get warning bars on either side of your screen when someone is aimed down sight and looking at you. And I did test this out. If someone is looking at you but not ADS'd, you get no warning at all. The warning only starts when someone is aimed down sight and when their crosshair is within your character's hitbox. So this means you have less time to react when someone is looking at you compared to the last Warzone.
Yeah, so high alert in the last game was way more broken because not only like what I'm noticing whenever I have like specialists, because I don't really use the perk, but whenever I have specialists, I actually kind of get annoyed when I have the perk. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but like what I mean by that is it puts orange. Notice how it puts orange bars.
The warning only starts when someone is aimed
ADS.
down.
Look. See how it puts orange bars on both sides of your screen? If this guy was a little bit to his left or a little bit to his right, it still puts it on both sides of your screen. So you don't know where you're being aimed at. It kind of just tells you you're being aimed at. And like he said, like they have to be ADS'd on you. So like, let's say it's a sniper. Like in the old game, they just have to look your direction, bro. And that was broken. High alert was very good in the last game. So I don't think it's nearly as good in this game, but
sight and when they're you compared to the last Warzone. And I did test this out, and this does work all the way up to 300 meters, and it probably works even further. I just didn't have a high zoom scope to test this out at the time. Overall, I'd say this is an A tier perk. It's really close to being S tier, but because it is going to be countered by Cold-Blooded, it just doesn't get the highest rating. However, being able to sense enemy players up
is
to
really
30
good.
meters away
Is really
is pretty
good.
crazy, and it's definitely going to change how Warzone plays. Okay, up next is Bird's Eye. When you call in UAVs, they're supposed to be about 25% larger, and when I tested this with a regular UAV, it appears the limit is about 300 meters or so, and then when I had Bird's Eye, it did look like the range was a little bit bigger. It's really hard to tell the exact numbers for this to know if it's exactly 25%, but it does seem a little bit larger. Now, in addition to that, Bird's Eye also does show the heading of your enemy, so basically what direction they're going or looking, and then you do detect players with ghosts. But overall, I don't think these two benefits are really that great, because when you see the heading of your enemy, what happens is you lose the elevation indicator.
Yeah,
so you
which is kind of
tell
not
when someone
great.
is above you or below you on the map, which can be an issue. And then Ghost just isn't that popular of a perk anymore because you have to be moving for it to be active. So that really reduces the benefit of having Bird's Eye. Overall, I'd put this perk in the D category, and I think it's kind of a waste of a slot.
I agree.
Okay, moving on to Ghost. This perk makes you undetectable to UAVs and to heartbeat sensors when you're moving. And this perk is pretty self-explanatory, but I did want to test how long it takes for you to stop moving to when you show up on a UAV. And I found that you really only have about a second and a half where you can stand still.
Yeah, you really gotta be moving.
So this perk really isn't all that useful. Overall, I'd put this in the C category. Okay, next up is Gung-ho. Now this perk allows you to reload while tack sprinting, and it's supposed to reduce your movement penalties when reloading or using equipment. Now the tack sprinting and reloading does work, and it does feel very nice and fluid. And it's definitely one of those perks I wish we had as our base like we did in the last game.
Me too,
but unfortunately
bro.
We don't. Now in terms of the reduced movement penalties.
Yeah, chat, what do you guys think about that? They took that away. Gung-ho was a base perk. Like you didn't need to put it on. Like it was just already on your character in Warzone. I don't know why they changed that and made it a perk. I genuinely don't think they should have. I think the game felt great when everybody kind of just had Gung-ho by default, but it is what it is.
I did test and find out that you do run a little bit faster when you have equipment out with Gung-ho, and you're also able to slide while holding equipment, which could help you out in certain situations. I also did test reloading and diving, and it does appear with Gung-ho that you are able to get into attack sprint maybe a little bit faster, but it's kind of hard to tell if this is consistent or not. Overall, I think this perk is really good, but I also think that you pretty much need to be using Sprinter in your perk 2 slot to really get the full benefit of being able to reload while tack sprinting. I'm putting this in the A slot because reloading while tack sprinting
That's true.
is
You almost need to use Sprinter with it too.
Okay, up next is Tempered.
You're just gonna have your knife
simply refills your armor plates to full with
Tempered's
2
a good
plates
perk
instead of 3. And the big benefit to this is that I found that you could fully plate up about 1 second faster, which makes this pretty useful in a gunfight. And you also do use less plates overall, which is pretty important now that the backpack system is gone, and you can only carry 6 plates unless you get an armor satchel. Now I did compare Tempered to Survivor because both these perks help you heal up faster, and I dropped off the top of a building until I was absolute health, and I recorded the time it took me to
Survivor's
heal
a good perk.
And basically, Tempered gives you a little bit of a health edge for the first 4 seconds or so, and then Survivor quickly surpasses it because the health regeneration on Survivor is just much faster. And overall, I would recommend choosing Survivor over Tempered in most cases because Survivor is going to also...
What do you mean over Tempered? They're 2 different slots. You could use both, no?
To help you heal up faster from fall damage, whereas Tempered's not going to help you with that. Overall, I'm putting Tempered in the B category.
I think Tempered is A, maybe even S, because bro, the amount of... Just being able to put 2 plates in that extra second, those types of perks are really useful. But I think Resolute's the best third perk. Let's see what he has to say about Resolute.
Next up is Resolute, and what this perk does is it gives you a little bit of a speed boost when you're taking damage
which
from
is
gunfire.
Huge, bro.
And from my testing, the speed boost lasts about 5 seconds.
Wow.
I wasn't able to test how much faster, but according to the patch notes, you get a 15% speed bonus.
You do.
I'm putting this perk in the B category because the speed boost is significant and probably will help you win some gunfights, and it also could help you make rotations if you do get caught out in the open.
It is, bro. It gives you a 15%. He's right about that. It gives you a 15% increase. If you pair it with a stim, you get a stim gives you a 15% increase, and Resolute gives you a 15% increase. But so that it wasn't broken to pair them together, they made it so it caps out at 20% when you use both perks. Like let's say someone shoots you and you pop a stim, you only get 20% movement speed buff. But still, I mean, that's better than nothing. I think Resolute is pretty god tier. But let's see what he has to say here. He's got a little breakdown of what perks you should use. Let's see what he has to say, and then I'm going to give you guys my thoughts.
Will help you win some gunfights, and it also could help you make rotations if you do get caught out in the open. And these are the perk combinations that I recommend trying out depending on your playstyle and what mode you're playing. There are quite a few perks that are bugged right now, so
the top one
probably will change once all these get fixed. But this is what I recommend for now.
Okay,
I tested every Black Ops 6 Warzone.
I'll read these for you because I know you can't see them all.
Fight and trying out.
So for movement, he's saying use Survivor, Sprinter, Gung-ho, or Resolute. For Resurgence wins, he's saying use Survivor, Bomb Squad, Tempered, Alertness. So Survivor in the first slot guaranteed. Big map wins, Survivor, Tracker, Tempered, and Resolute. Stealth/solo, Survivor, Cold Blood, or Alertness. Okay, I would just say overall, all-encompassing, what 3 perks should you use? Let's go back to the tier list.
Out the test B category because this.
Oh, he doesn't have them all in the tier list. Okay. Let me just open up the game. First and foremost, yo guys, Dream Strike on YouTube. Go show this guy some love. I'm gonna like that video. GG's my boy. Go show this guy some love right here. Beautiful, beautiful video, beautiful breakdown of the perks and whatnot. J-God's got a nice one right here as well. Huge mistake with the perks. Yeah, so people already get catching on to that. A lot of these perks don't work, but when some of them start working again, it's gonna be different. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Here's what I would use. Here's what I use. So I would advise, we're gonna go Survivor. Oh, I don't even have it, level 47. Okay, that's unfortunate. I would use Survivor. I'm going to start using Survivor, Tracker, and once they fix Quick Fix, I'm going to Quick Fix and Resolute. These are my 3 favorites. Tempered, I might swap in and out between Tempered and Resolute. I think these are the best perks out of all of them. Right now, again, like he said, Tracker, like Cold-Blooded doesn't even work. Quick Fix doesn't even work that well. I mean, Cold-Blooded works, it like half works, and Quick Fix also is like 1/3 works. So like over half the perk doesn't even work the way it's intended to. So, but when it does, it's going to be broken, bro. When it does, I think Survivor, Quick Fix, and Resolute are going to be the 3 best perks to use. Maybe even Tempered with it. The speed at which you're going to heal up and like, dude, Tempered actually paired with Survivor is going to be really nice. And then also Quick Fix paired with that shit too. Actually, sorry, Quick Fix is going to actually make it so you don't need to use Survivor anymore. I'll give you guys a couple different options. When they fix Quick Fix, you could still use Tracker and then use Survivor paired with it. But if you're going to use Survivor, there's no reason to use Quick Fix, or vice versa. If you're going to use Quick Fix, there's no real reason to use Survivor because you can just hit a plate and you're instantly healing up, or you can down somebody or kill somebody and you instantly heal up. Reflexes might be nice. Dexterity should be fixed. I feel like they should fix this shit. I don't know. Hopefully they make this a little bit better. Like maybe, like I really hope they increase the fall damage threshold, because if they do, I think Dexterity is the best perk. But for now, I would go Survivor, Tracker, Resolute. I think those are the 3 best perks by far. Survivor, Tracker, Resolute. With the perks where they are currently at, like with some of them being broken and whatnot, and some of them not working as intended, I would say these are the best. But again, those are some options for once they do fix those perks. Those are going to be the options for sure. Quick Fix and like probably Dexterity or Reflexes or something like that.